The rain hadn't touched the village of Karampur in nearly 8 months. Cracks split the ground like veins, and the once lush fields had turned to dust. The villagers, mostly farmers, watched helplessly as their crops withered and their wells dried up. Among them was an old farmer named Bhima, who had worked the same patch of land for more than 50 years. Bhima was known for his wisdom and calm demeanor. He spoke little, but when he did, others listened. His farm, like the rest, had suffered. His cows grew thin, and the granary stood nearly empty. Yet every morning before sunrise, Bhima still walked to his field with his ox and wooden plow, as though nothing had changed. His son, Raju, a strong-willed young man of 25, was not so patient. "Baba, what are you doing?" he asked one morning, seeing Bhima yoking the ox to the plow again. "There's no point. The earth is dry. The clouds are gone. This isn't hope, this is madness." Bhima paused, looking over the brittle stalks that remained from the last harvest. "Son," he said quietly, "the seed only grows when it's buried in darkness. If we stop planting, we stop living." Raju shook his head. "Hope won't fill our bellies." "No," Bhima agreed. "But despair will empty our souls." Weeks passed. Other villagers began migrating to nearby towns in search of labor and water. The village square, once filled with chatter and laughter, was now silent except for the occasional creak of a cart leaving with belongings piled high. Bhima and Raju stayed behind. Raju grew more frustrated. "We should leave too," he insisted. "We're wasting time here. I can find work in the city. We'll earn enough to survive." Bhima's eyes, clouded with age, still held a fire that hadn't dimmed. "And if the rain comes while we're gone," he asked, "who will be here to welcome it?" "There's no rain coming," Raju snapped. "Open your eyes, Baba." But Bhima didn't argue. He simply turned back to his field and began to till the cracked earth, dust rising in clouds behind him. That night, Raju lay on the roof, staring up at the starless sky, restless and angry. He didn't understand why his father clung to a lost cause. The world had changed. Faith wouldn't feed them. Days turned into weeks. The sun beat down relentlessly, but Bhima continued his routine till, sow, rest, repeat. Raju began helping again, partly out of guilt, partly because there was nothing else to do. They had little to eat, less to store. Yet the old man's resolve never wavered. One day, Bhima didn't wake up. Raju found him lying peacefully beneath the neem tree near the edge of the field, a soft smile on his face. His hands were stained with earth, his hoe still beside him. The village priest said it was his time. He went like a true farmer, he said. With his feet on his land. Raju buried his father under that very neem tree. The grief hit him harder than he expected. Bhima had always been the backbone of their lives. Now, without him, the silence of the field felt like a graveyard. A week later, Raju began packing. There was nothing left for him in Karampur. Just before he left, he took one last walk around the land. He ran his fingers through the soil his father had plowed, the seeds they had sown. "It was all for nothing, Baba," he whispered. And then, in the distance, he heard it, the low rumble of thunder. He looked up, startled. The sky had darkened, clouds gathering thick and fast. A gust of cool wind swept across the dry land, carrying the smell of rain. Raju stood frozen, disbelief etched on his face. The first drop hit his forehead. Then another. Within moments, the heavens opened, releasing torrents of long-awaited rain. The ground drank it eagerly, the dust turning to mud, the dry cracks vanishing under sheets of water. Raju laughed, tears mixing with rain on his face. He ran to the field, where the soil had begun to soften. Tiny green shoots, invisible the day before, now peeked through the ground, proof of seeds his father had sown, faith his father had kept. Days turned into weeks, and the village came alive again. Those who had left returned slowly, drawn by stories of green fields and full wells. The rains continued, steady and nourishing. Crops began to sprout. The brown land turned emerald. Raju worked the land tirelessly, as his father had taught him. For the first time, he understood the depth of Bhima's lesson. It wasn't about denying hardship. It was about believing in the possibility of change, even when everything around you says otherwise. One morning, as he sat under the neem tree with a cup of tea, he looked over the growing fields. Children ran through the grass, laughter once again echoing through the air. The village square was busy. And beneath the earth, his father's last crop continued to rise. A small stone marked Bhima's resting place. Raju had carved into it the words his father once said. The seed only grows when it's buried in darkness. He smiled and whispered to the wind, "You were right, Baba. You never lost hope. And neither will I."